Hey there, it's Dorleen. Welcome to my channel and my creative life. I'm making a project using some supplies from Jenlee Schoolcraft where we make pretty crafty things. I'll talk a little bit more about her website in a little bit. So I was given some rice paper from Stamperia, as I'm guessing how to pronounce it. And honestly, I've never used rice paper and I wasn't really sure what the texture was going to feel like or what I was going to use it for. Now, if you've never used it, or maybe you have, it's stronger than tissue paper, but that's kind of the idea that I think it feels mostly like. But again, stronger. Now, if you look at this, it is gorgeous and it's not transparent. It definitely has, you could see through it, but it's more solid than that. But I kind of played around with it. I looked at it and I thought, you know what? This would be perfect for a drapery card. I've made this a long, long time ago because this kind of gives me like a sense of fabric. So this piece is 6 inches by 2.5, and then you just saw the score lines that are required to make this drapery fold. But again, if you missed it, you can go back. Or you can go to my blog, which I'll have the address in the information box, as well as a link to the Jenlee Schoolcraft website. So once I did the score lines, now again, I wasn't really sure if it was going to score, but it did score perfectly. I was very careful not to press too hard. I didn't want to punch through it. I also received these chipboard stickers also from Stamperia. And I'm going to be honest with you, again, I'm not a big vintage person. I always kind of doubt myself when I do anything vintage. It's definitely not the look that I use often. I have on occasion, but not often enough to feel comfortable. But I thought with that drapery card and that hand, the first thing I thought of was, sending a note or like a thank you card for somebody. And I think it turned out really beautiful, but you can see in a minute. So I just took a 4.25 by 11 piece of paper or cardstock, and I scored it at 5.5 inches. This is your standard A2 card, no big deal. But I think it's really important to have it going this way, the 4.5 by 11 versus folding folding on top versus folding on the left. I also grabbed this Prima marketing pad that I also received from Jenlee Schoolcraft months ago. Matter of fact, it may even been closer to a year ago. And I just grabbed one of the floral pieces that I thought would go really well. And this kind of has a little tint of pink, and that's why I really liked it with this pink, solid, kind of more modern looking color for this vintage looking card. But I really like the way it kind of clashes but also coordinates. So once I put my adhesive on, I'm just going to put it in the middle of the card, and then I'm going to fold on those score lines, just an accordion fold going back and forth on top of each other, making sure that the top edge is lined up so I have a straight fold, and you'll see that going on in just a minute. But before I do that, I'm going to make a mark just halfway on my piece. Now this was 2.5 inches height, so I just marked it at 1.5 or 1.25, and then on that very first score line, which was at the 3.25, I just did a little mark so it was easier to see, and I'm going to cut like a very thin triangle right there, and this helps it drape and gives it that kind of, I don't want to use the word curve because it's definitely not curved, but it gives that lift, I guess, over at on the right hand side. So again, I'm just going to fold it on top of each other at the score lines, and I'm going to use my bone folder because this paper is it has this design which also has kind of like a I don't know what you'd call that, like a threaded. So see how here it's a little bit harder to fold, but it's fine. I mean, I needed a little just more pressure with my hands. But again, you see how I'm folding an accordion style, just kind of right on top of each other. Now this measurement going 6 inches by 2.5 is the perfect, once it's all scored, lays perfectly across a whole A2 card. But I only want it to cover the floral pattern paper. So I'm going to cut 1/4 inch off of that, and very simple. And then once I do that, I'm going to hear this on the card. So let me talk a little bit about Jenlee Schoolcraft. So basically it's a website, and what she has there are supplies, crafty supplies that are budget friendly, very lower cost than your standard. There are new supplies, and there's also gently used supplies. So when I use the word or the description new. Now, I'm not talking latest and greatest, but I'm talking new as in never been used. So if you are looking for something that's been retired or no longer in stock, or sometimes somebody had a collection, maybe they just never used certain supplies. I'm raising my hand there because there's that happened to me a lot of times. I know I do that where I absolutely have to have something sit in my stash for, years. And then I go, oh yeah, I need to use that. So I'm sure we all have those supplies, but it's something like that. And when I say gently used, I mean like a stamp set, again, may have been used once or twice. Hey, they're still usable. Or I've even received or I've even purchased like enamel dots where the whole card is pretty much full, but there might be like 2 or 3 missing or somebody had used. So something like that but again, you're going to get them at like extremely good prices. I definitely encourage you to check it out. Also, if you're a first-time buyer, if you use a coupon code NEW, NEW20, you get 20% off your first order. And if you're not a first-time user, and if you continue to order more than once, you can use my first name, Dorleen, and then number 10, and you'll get 10% off your order. So that's a great deal as well. And all that information and a link to her web store will be in the information box, as well as a link to my blog, also my Instagram account, or anything else I feel like you need to use. But look at how beautiful that rice paper just rests on there and drapes and just looks so pretty. And this is such a pretty card. Like I mentioned, I don't do vintage very often, but I was really, really happy with this. I did decide to add some pearls, so I thought that kind of added to the vintage look. And I stamped the word thank you, or the words thank you, to make this a thank you card. But I hope you like this video, and if you do, make sure you give me a thumbs up. I do post at least 2 videos a week. One is always scrapbooking, the other is whatever it is I'm creating in my craft room, and in this case it happens to be a vintage card. If you're only interested in one type of crafting, like let's say you're only a card maker and you only want to see card making, I do have different playlists, so definitely check those out. But also remember, even if you're a card maker only, but if you look at another paper crafting video, you may see something or a type of project that you think, oh, I can incorporate that into a card that I'm making. So anyhow, here's all the final pictures. I hope you like this, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.